A group of anti-Putin Russian nationals has claimed responsibility for an attack in Belgorod. Belgorod is located in Russia's southwestern region. This particular group is aligned with the Ukrainian army. The attack had damaged an administrative building and several residential buildings. The group calls itself the Freedom of Russia Legion and Russian Volunteer Corps. Russia's Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin is visiting China. He will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing. The two leaders will sign a series of deals on infrastructure and trade. Ahead of this, Mishustin will participate in a Russian-Chinese business forum in Shanghai. China and Russia have been ramping up their bilateral ties. China has taken a neutral stand on Russia's war in Ukraine. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a three-day visit to Australia. This is the third and final stop of his three-nation tour. The Indian Prime Minister will hold talks with his Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese. He'll also address the Indian diaspora at the Kudos Bank Arena Stadium in Sydney. The second day of the G20 Tourism Working Group meet began in Kashmir. The meetings are being held at the Sher-e-Kashmir International Conference Centre in Srinagar. Several sessions are scheduled for the day. The delegates will also visit Srinagar's famous Nishat Gardens, Pari Mahal and Polo View Market. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan will appear before court in the Qadir Trust case. The hearing will take place in Islamabad before the National Accountability Bureau. Imran Khan is facing an inquiry related to a settlement between his government and a property tycoon. The deal allegedly caused a loss of over $235 million to the national exchequer. Meanwhile, Bushra Bibi, the wife of Imran Khan, has been granted bail in the Qadir Trust case until the 31st of May. The United Nations envoy to Sudan has warned of the growing ethnicization of the conflict. This comes as clashes between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group continue. Clashes erupted after leaders of the two warring factions signed a 7-day ceasefire deal. Eyewitnesses claim that airstrikes continued minutes after the truce deal took effect on Monday night. A huge fire broke out at a secondary school dormitory in the South American nation of Guyana. At least 20 children have been killed. Many others have suffered injuries. The country's president has called it a major disaster. Authorities say lightning, thunder and heavy rains have complicated rescue efforts. An investigation has been launched to ascertain the cause of the fire. A presidential candidate in Turkey, Sinan Ogan, has declared that he will be supporting frontrunner Recep Tayyip Erdogan in the runoffs. Ogan got over 5% of the votes in the presidential election and held the third place. Erdogan got over 49% of the votes, which gave him a 5-point lead over his challenger, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. Israel has accused Iran of turning commercial ships into platforms capable of launching missile and drone strikes. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant showed images of 6 such repurposed Iranian vessels. Gallant called the Iranian ships, quote-unquote, floating terror bases. He added that Tehran's objective was to extend its clout beyond the Persian Gulf towards the Indian Ocean. American columnist E. Jean Carroll has gone back to court to demand additional damages from former President Donald Trump. This is for the disparaging remarks he made about Carroll during an interview. Her lawyers have filed an amended lawsuit seeking an additional $10 million in damages. They say that the remarks made by Trump spoiled Carroll's reputation to a point that she lost her longtime job at Elle magazine. A box truck crashed into security barriers near the White House in the US. Investigators say they recovered a Nazi flag from the site. The driver of the box truck has been detained. No injuries have been reported in the incident. America's Republican Senator Tim Scott has entered the 2024 presidential race. Scott is the only black Republican in the U.S. Senate, and he will kick off his campaign from his hometown, North Charleston in South Carolina. He faces an uphill battle against Republican favorite Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. However, Scott remains popular in South Carolina, which plays a key role in the Republican race.
Thank you. Joe Biden and the radical left.
Several labor unions staged protests in Belgium's capital, Brussels. Thousands of protesters demanded improved working conditions. They also flagged the deterioration of their right to protest. This comes after a Belgian court backed a retail group, Delhaize, to ban workers from forming picket lines outside its supermarkets. Protesters also flagged the country's rising energy costs and spiraling inflation. Brazil has declared a state of animal health emergency for 180 days. This comes after the detection of the highly pathogenic H5N1 avian influenza virus in wild birds. So far, 8 cases have been detected. Brazil is the world's biggest exporter of chicken meat. The country exports nearly $10 billion worth of chicken meat annually. Heatwave conditions continue in India's capital, New Delhi, and nearby regions. In the latest, Delhi's power demand increased to over 6,500 megawatts on Monday afternoon. This is the highest power demand in the region recorded this season. It's likely to cross 7,000 megawatts by the end of May. Raging wildfires in Canada's Alberta province have further complicated the supply lines. This comes as authorities have shut down parts of the region's main highway. The highway was partially closed as a precautionary measure, but now wildfires are burning closer to the roads. Around 3,000 firefighters from Canada and the US are tackling about 91 active wildfires. A new study has revealed that global heating will affect billions. The world is currently on track for 2.7 degrees Celsius of heating. This will expose 2 billion people to average annual temperatures above 29 degrees Celsius by the year 2030. A very few number of communities have experienced such temperatures in the past. Countries with large populations and already warm climates are likely to be the worst hit. In the Horn of Africa, more than 7 million children under the age of 5 remain malnourished. A UNICEF report says that this has happened due to hunger, displacement, and water scarcity. Millions of children and families are leaving their homes out of desperation for food and water. Outbreaks of cholera, measles, malaria, and other diseases are worsened by extreme weather conditions. Extreme weather events caused about 2 million deaths over the last 50 years. It also led to an economic damage of $4 trillion. This is according to a new study by the World Meteorological Organization. It further mentioned that weather, climate, and water-related hazards caused around 12,000 disasters between 1970 and 2021. Developing countries were the hardest hit. A new study suggests that the ability of microorganisms to adapt to climate change will help reduce global warming. Researchers collected soil samples from across Europe. The samples revealed that microorganisms like bacteria and fungi can strongly adapt to their local climate. They can also adapt to temperature changes and can benefit from it. However, scientists do not know how microorganisms react to warming climate. US President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have ended their discussions over the country's debt ceiling. Reports say that the talks were inconclusive. Neither party could reach an agreement on how to raise the US government's debt limit. The US Treasury Department had earlier warned that the country will breach its debt limit by June 1st. A failure to lift the debt ceiling could trigger a default. Warner Brothers Discovery is reportedly set to undergo another round of layoffs. Reports say that the company is expected to cut some roles in its cable TV business. This includes Discovery-branded cable networks. The timing of the cuts is yet to be confirmed. However, reports suggest that it's likely to come later this summer. Meanwhile, a third round of layoffs is underway at Disney. Reports say that more than 2,500 people may lose their jobs in the latest wave. In February, CEO Bob Iger announced that the media giant would axe roughly 7,000 jobs globally. He said that the company would do so in 3 waves of layoffs. The first 2 waves took place in March and April. Indian banks will begin the process of exchanging the 2,000 denomination currency notes from today. According to the Reserve Bank of India, citizens can exchange the notes up to a limit of 20,000 at a time. That's 10 notes per visit. RBI has notified that the notes can be exchanged without any identity proof. However, some banks have said that they may require an ID. Last week, India's central bank announced the withdrawal of 2,000 denomination banknotes. However, they will continue to be legal tender until September 30th. The U.S. Transportation Department has fined South America's Latam Airlines. The Chile-based company has been charged a fine of $1 million. The penalty reportedly comes over the airline's failure to provide timely refunds to passengers for U.S.-bound flights. According to reports, the U.S. Transportation Department has received more than 700 complaints in the matter since 2020. US-based financial firm JP Morgan has increased its corporate default rate forecast for all emerging markets. It has raised the forecast from an earlier 5.5% to 6%. The forecast provides an estimate of corporate borrowings that will likely miss scheduled payments this year. JP Morgan says that this increase is due to growing risks among Latin American companies. China-based TikTok has sued the US state of Montana. It has challenged the state's new ban on the use of the video sharing app. Last week, Montana became the first US state to impose a ban on the social media platform. TikTok has argued that the ban violates the First Amendment rights of the company and its users. In the US, the First Amendment rights protect citizens' freedom of speech. Meanwhile, TikTok says it will soon grant software firm Oracle full access to its source code and algorithm. The work is a part of TikTok's Project Texas. With this project, the company aims to ease security concerns about the app in the US. The social media company will do so by allowing partners like Oracle to review its technology for security risks. WhatsApp is rolling out one of its most awaited features. The messaging app will now allow users to edit their messages. Users will be able to modify their messages within 15 minutes of sending them out. The feature will be rolled out globally in the coming weeks. The feature was one of the most crucial competing factors for the app among peers like Telegram and Signal. Tech giant Microsoft has evaded a lawsuit by gamers in the US. The lawsuit aimed to block Microsoft's $69 billion acquisition of the video game company Activision Blizzard. The gamers had alleged that the merger would decrease competition in the gaming sector, causing irreparable harm. A US court has said that the lawsuit failed to show the irreparable damage the deal would cause. Coming to sports, India's Neeraj Chopra has attained the world #1 rank in men's javelin. Chopra grabbed the top spot with 1,455 points to his name. He's 22 points ahead of reigning world champion Anderson Peters of Grenada. This is the first time that Chopra has claimed the top spot in javelin rankings. He also becomes the first Indian track and field athlete to attain a world #1 rank. In cricket, Australian pacer Josh Hazlewood has returned to the nets. Hazelwood has battled injuries for the past 18 months. He even took a 4-month break to recover from his injuries. Hazelwood is expected to be declared fit for the upcoming World Test Championship final on the 7th of June. He's also expected to play in the Ashes series later in June. In football, Real Madrid have lodged a hate crime complaint against La Liga. This comes after Real player Vinicius Jr. was subject to racist chants during a match at Valencia. FIFA President Gianni Infantino lambasted La Liga for their ignorance. Brazil's President Lula da Silva has condemned the racial abuse. Meanwhile, Spain has ordered a probe into the racist abuse of Vinicius. According to reports, this was the 10th episode of alleged racism in La Liga this season. Newcastle United drew 0-0 with Leicester City in the Premier League. Hosts Newcastle made 23 goal attempts but failed to score. They retained the third position at 70 points with one game left this season. Meanwhile, fourth-placed Manchester United trail Newcastle by 1 point with 2 games left to play. AS Roma were held to a 2-2 draw by Salernitana in Serie A on Monday. Antonio Candreva scored for Salernitana in the 12th minute, shocking Roma. Roma equalized in the 47th minute, only to see the visitors retake the lead in the 54th. Roma's Nemanja Matic leveled the game just 7 minutes before time. With the draw, Roma are doubtful to qualify for European football next season via their Serie A rankings. Meanwhile, Juventus suffered a 4-1 loss at Empoli. 2 goals from Francesco Caputo and a strike from Sebastiano Luperto gave Empoli a comfortable 3-0 lead. Juventus scored in the second half, but Roberto Piccoli's sealed Empoli's win with a goal in stoppage time. Juventus hold 59 points, 1 behind AS Roma with 2 games left. More on Juventus. They were docked 10 points from the current Serie A season. Italy's football court ruled against Juventus in a case about the club's transfer deals. The club allegedly inflated the values of its players and conducted false accounting practices. With the 10-point deduction and the defeat to Empoli, Juventus have dropped from the 2nd to the 7th place in Serie A rankings. In golf, Tiger Woods has withdrawn from next month's US Open. The pro golfer continues to recover from a recent injury. Woods had to undergo surgery for a fractured ankle. This meant he was unable to compete in this month's PGA Championship as well. In basketball, Denver Nuggets beat Los Angeles Lakers to sweep the Western Conference Finals 4-0. Nuggets edged past Lakers 113-111 in a thrilling match. Nikola Jokic scored 30 points for Denver. However, Laker LeBron James was the highest scorer of the match with 40 points. Denver are now through to their maiden NBA Finals. 10-time NBA All-Star Carmelo Anthony announced his retirement on Monday. Anthony spent 19 seasons in the league. He finished as the 9th highest scorer in NBA history with over 28,000 points. Anthony last played for the Los Angeles Lakers in the 2021-2022 season. Benedict Cumberbatch is set to play singer Pete Seeger in a new biopic on Bob Dylan. Seeger was an early supporter of Dylan who helped him land his debut album. Actor Timothy Chalamet will be playing Bob Dylan. The film is titled A Complete Unknown. It'll begin production in New York this summer. The Mongolian film If Only I Could Hibernate has made history at the Cannes Film Festival. It's the first film from the country to be shown in the official selection at Cannes. Meanwhile, the Mongolian Film Fund is offering cash rebates to international filmmakers to ramp up global reach. It's offering cash rebates for international projects to promote the country as a filming location. Director Martin Scorsese's banner, The Film Foundation, has tied up with French film company MK2 Films. The partnership will help distribute a collection of Scorsese's restored movies internationally. The films are part of the World Cinema Project that preserves and restores neglected movies. The World Cinema Project has so far restored 51 films from 29 countries. Actor Vin Diesel has said that spin-offs of the Fast and Furious franchise are underway. This includes a female-led installment of the popular action series. Diesel said that he started developing the female spin-off in 2017. He also hinted that his latest film, Fast X, can have an ending that could extend to 3 parts. The Writers Guild of America strike has now impacted the television series American Horror Story. Striking writers picketed outside a production set in Queens in New York. That's where season 12 of the show is being filmed. Members of the WGA East were joined by the Screen Actors Guild at one of the largest studios in New York, the Silvercup Studios. Rapper LL Cool J has joined the cast of police drama NCIS Hawaii for its 3rd season. The rapper reprised his role as senior special agent Sam Hanna during the season 2 finale that aired last night. It's now confirmed that he will join the series as a recurring cast member in season 3. The Jonas Brothers have scored their 4th #1 album on Billboard's top album sales chart. Their 6th studio release, called The Album, came out on May 12th. It sold over 35,000 copies in the US in its first week. The trio's other albums to reach the #1 spot include Happiness Begins, Lines, Vines and Trying Times, and A Little Bit Longer. Singer B.I. has become the first Korean artist to be invited to the music festival Lollapalooza in Berlin. He will participate in the festival as a representative of Korean artists. This year's Lollapalooza lineup includes pop band Imagine Dragons, DJ David Guetta, and singer Jason Derulo. Lollapalooza Berlin will take place between the 9th and 10th of September. K-pop band Enhypen released their 4th mini-album titled Dark Blood last evening. The album contains 6 songs. Its release was accompanied by a music video for one of the songs. Enhypen's previous mini-album, Manifesto Day 1, was their first chart topper on Billboard's top album sales chart. Singer Niall Horan has announced the dates for his 2024 US and European tour. The tours will support his 3rd solo album, which is called The Show. It's releasing on the 9th of June. Horan's first overseas show will take place in Belfast in Northern Ireland on the 21st of February next year. His first North American show will happen on the 29th of May in the city of Hollywood in Florida.